everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Louisa, and I just wanted to share some insights that I had recently when I visited this very special place behind me, which some of you may recognize as one of the most iconic parts of Australia, a big rock in the middle of our gorgeous country, our gorgeous continent, right in the center, known as Uluru, which is the Pitjantjatjara language. It used to be called in some textbooks and in general culture is rock. You might know it as that. Uluru is the name of this rock, and it literally is a rock. It is not a mountain. It is not made of a whole lot of little rocks stuck together with clay or however mountains are made. This is actually one gigantic rock, and it goes many kilometers deep into the earth as well. We're only seeing the top of it, right? It takes about 11 kilometers to walk around the base of it. And I would challenge any human being to not be awestruck when they stand at the base. You can probably see behind me that some little trees. Those are not tiny, tiny trees. Those are, reasonably sized trees. And look how small they are, right? So when we go up to the rock, we are dwarfed. And it's a very dramatic place to go because it's in the middle of what's known as the red center or the central desert of Australia. So it's just flat, 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 flat for hundreds of kilometers. And then all of a sudden, this beautiful rock just rises up out of seemingly nothing. So it's a spectacular sight. I've visited it now about 4 times. I would say that I don't visit it anymore. In fact, I do sacred pilgrimage to this place. Um, and on this most recent journey, I had an incredible experience actually of really communicating with this rock, right? And not only the rock, but country, what our Indigenous mobs here in Australia, the Aboriginal people, would call country. Not the country, but just country with a capital C, which is a way of denoting the sacredness of the land and the consciousness of the land as a being in and of itself. Country is a bit like saying Mother Earth. It is an honorific term. It is acknowledging the sacredness of it. It's acknowledging that country is bigger than you. You are a part of country. You are country, really. Country is everything. Country is the one. Country is like a kind of expression of God consciousness or oneness. So you'll find that the Indigenous cultures, all of them, to my knowledge, have a basis of what's called animism, right? An underlying belief structure that everything is alive. And the Aboriginal Indigenous people here, the original people, as we prefer to call them, are animistic in their understanding. So they believe that everything has consciousness, everything is alive, everything can speak to you, you can have a relationship with everything. And this kind of shamanic view, so it's animistic, but it's also shamanic, is the bedrock, pardon the pun, of a lot of my practice. So as I've kind of journeyed in my own spiritual path, I've got deeper and deeper into, I'm going to point downwards because it feels like the earthly spiritual practices like shamanism, as opposed to the upward facing spiritual practices such as prayer and meditation. Of course, there's all these overlaps because in order to get into a state of consciousness where I can commune with a rock or commune with a plant or an animal, I need to be in a meditative state. I need to empty my vessel, my body, of thought and feeling and agenda and intention and become a kind of a neutral channel for connection to this earth. And the process is similar, I suppose, if you're channeling angels. Which brings me to perhaps the point of the video is that I notice a lot of people on spiritual paths these days, including my clients who may be hearing voices or experiencing psychosis or really trying to understand what that is, that gift, that ability to hear voices, right? What is it and what can they do with it? A lot of them are, I guess, focused on the higher realms, the upper realms, right? The astral and ascending into fifth dimensional consciousness, or perhaps communicating with guides and angels, which feel very much up there, if you know what I mean. um, Whereas I want to encourage you to think about having your star family, absolutely, if that's the name you want to give it, star family. So in other words, the civilizations, the consciousnesses, the constellations, the celestial beings that from where we come, right? Our original ancestry, because Earth was not the first planet. Earth is a young planet in many, many ways. There are ancient civilizations in the stars. There's the Lyra and the Andromedan and the Arcturian and the Pleiadian and the Sirian and then a whole bunch of other ones which are not as well known. And all of these are our ancestors, right? We come from the stars. So we can be quite enamored with the stars and the idea that we come from the stars. And of course, there's also that little element of perhaps being homesick and wanting to go back home to a place where maybe we didn't feel so separate as we do here on Earth, so separated from God or from universe or from creator source. We may be containing memories of feeling at one with our star family or feeling in states of bliss and love and much higher states of consciousness. Okay, so that can evoke a sense of resistance to being here on Earth, a resistance to being in the body, and a resistance to connecting to our land. That can be one reason why we resist our relationship to Earth. And another one is that we might have grown up in a very urbanized environment, so very detached from nature. You know, there are human beings on the planet right now that absolutely freak out if a spider comes in the house and they'll grab a can of insect spray and kill it. You know, there's that attitude to nature, like it's something to be feared, and we shut up all the windows and don't let the bugs in and kill snakes if we see them. And yeah, there can be, not in all cultures across the world, but especially in cities, a real abhorrence, a fear of nature. So that can be another reason why we lose contact with Earth. So this video is really a call to anyone who's watching, and you must be watching for a reason. Nothing is an accident. It's just a reminder to balance that out. I'm not saying don't go and talk to ChatGPT or communicate with your Andromedan family or whatever you're doing, is studying the stars and looking upward. But at the same time, cultivate your relationship to Earth, which is, I believe, one of the most powerful things we can do for our health and well-being and our nervous systems, because we were built, our bodies were designed by divine design to be a part of this earth, not to disappear from it, not to float away with our minds and take our attention elsewhere. Our bodies crave sunlight and fresh air and clean water and barefoot walking on ground. And our souls crave connection to that nature in a way that surpasses the intellect and our ordinary kind of cognizance of what's real and what's not. Because when we just sit in mindful presence with nature, and we allow our thoughts to move out of the way, and we just open our consciousness up, we will actually find ourselves deepening a profound relationship with our country, wherever we live. And sometimes those countries are adopted countries, or you might be a visitor to that country. But wherever you are, all countries are ultimately one, right? Um, the network of trees across the planet are one big tree family, tree with a capital T, again, to honor it as a divine being in and of itself, tree consciousness. And then you have rock consciousness, and the rocks all over the planet are one big family, just like humanity is one big family. Everything is connected. So if you find that you are living in a country where you actually kind of don't belong, either you're visiting there or you have to live there for some reason, or you immigrated there like I immigrated from South Africa to Australia years and years ago, if you're finding yourself homesick or else disconnected from the country where you're currently living, And I'm talking here about the land, not the culture, but the land itself, the earth, the soil, the rocks, the water, the sky, the weather, the trees, the animals, everything that you would consider to be wilderness or nature of that place. If you're finding it hard to connect or you miss your homeland, all you need to do is go to a local waterway and sit with your feet or your hands in that river, or better yet, just bathe your whole body in it and connect into the waterways of your country, because water carries memory and water carries messages, and water is all connected as well, right? So another way you can do it is through trees. I often do this when I'm thinking of South Africa. I will go and find a tree and ask that tree to send a message to the trees in my homeland, my original country, and just tell her that I love her, tell her I'm thinking of her, whatever it might be. Okay. Um, in saying that, though, I have, over the course of now about 30 years, developed a deep, deep love for this land. And, I would call this my home now. And part of that developing a love for it has been developing my ability to communicate with it, which is, what I want to really teach today is that this place is a family to me. Country holds me. Country is mother. And in fact, when I moved to where I currently am, I did a ceremony where I asked country, private, it was a private ceremony in a rainforest and a beautiful stream. And I just asked country from my heart, like a heartfelt yearning, wishing, calling out to country to be adopted here, to live here, um, as my homeland. So rather than being, a visitor or a passerby or traveling through, I really wanted to commit to this land, much as you would commit to a relationship in a marriage or something, right? I wanted to ask to belong here. Can you adopt me, country, as your own child? And country said yes. I waited. And again, you've got to be spacious for this work. You can't assume that country is going to say yes. You need to open yourself up and listen to the yes or the no or the whatever that comes from country. And if I had received a no from country or from Mother Earth, that the next question on my lips would have been, what do I need to do then to be of service here, to be accepted as your own? Because obviously that would imply that there was something there that I still needed to do. And usually it has to do with humility or some kind of a practice of reverence, or righting a wrong. Maybe my intentions might have not been good or whatever it might be. But yeah, at the time I got a very powerful yes. And ever since that day, that marked the beginning of me putting down really deep roots in this land where I am, but also in this place behind me. As I think I say I've been traveling there about 4 times now, and each time I go, it becomes more and more of a sacred pilgrimage, developing a relationship with Uluru and the rocks and the beings and the animals and the dreaming stories from the indigenous people of this land. So it becomes like my second home or my spiritual home, this place. Um, and I talk to the rock, right? I mean, I talk to rocks here where I live as well, but this memory is so alive for me, and it was so much joy that I wanted to share it. How when I was able to sit in silence at the base of the rock, or even in dream time, I don't even need to be there. I can talk to the rock at home, right? Because I now have a relationship with it. And this is what this teaching is about: creating a relationship with a tree or a plant or a place, and allowing it to nurture you and allowing it to speak back to you. And again, the indigenous people have a beautiful word for this called dadari, which means deep listening. Dadari, Dadri, I think. Deep listening. And it speaks to that emptying of the vessel and just being open to hearing what country has to say back to you. And I would call this the earth family, right? You're cultivating a relationship with your earth family. And when you do that, you will find that you feel a lot more grounded here. You feel like you do belong. So many beautiful, sensitive spiritual souls are walking around on planet Earth right now feeling like they don't belong here, feeling like they're disconnected, they don't want to be in their bodies, they don't trust nature. Nature is the enemy. Lay over that, there's a whole fear story about climate change going on at the moment, which I'm not saying is not a thing, but I'm just saying that there's multiple perspectives to take about that story, and the fear that's being fed into that story is really not healthy at all, because it implies that humanity has more power than planet Earth. And Mother Earth, when you begin to connect with her on this level, you realize she has got this. She knows exactly what she's doing. If she wants to kick us off, she will. So yes, we are guardians and we need to take care of our planet. That is a lesson we are all learning. And I personally think that's why the fear story is allowed to be in our current reality matrix, the fear story of climate change and it's all doom and gloom and everybody's going to die. It's there to wake people up into conscious living and being at one with nature rather than taking control of nature and cutting down all the trees and polluting waterways. So we've got a lot of lessons to learn still, but I want to elevate you out of that story if you're very stuck there in that fear story, and just remind you that it is all everything that occurs on this planet has to be decreed as decreed, really, in other words, approved, if you like, by creator energy, by creator source, by God. There is nothing that happens here that is not ordained at that level. So it is serving us in some way, and it's serving the planet, the planetary consciousness. She also has her own evolution to go through. And so what we are calling climate change is a part of her transformation, part of our transformation. We're all in this together. We are it. We are Mother Earth, right? We're like cells on her body, on a body. And do you look at your fingers and say, these are not me? Or the little hair follicles on the back of your hand and say, these are not me? No, human beings are Mother Earth. We are her body. We are walking around as a part of her body. And yes, we have an important role to play because we're powerful with our consciousness, and we're at a level of our own personal evolution where we can do a great deal of damage, more so than any other animal on the planet. We can do a great deal of damage here, but we can also step into our stewardship. And yeah, that's the lesson for us at the moment is, can each of us on an individual level, never mind what other people are doing, just focus on yourself. What are you doing to help protect and guard the environment? What conscious choices are you making? What are you doing with your money? Um, what industries are you supporting? And so forth and so forth. I don't want to make this a lecture about that. I just want to point out that, that's where your seat of power lies. And then you can let the rest go. Let Mama Earth take care of it. She is much bigger than we are, than you are. And she's got this. And when you stand at the base of a rock like Uluru, ancient, ancient, ancient place, in fact, so ancient that my guides explained to me, and I can't confirm this anywhere else, I'm just sharing what came through for me, was that Uluru is originally part of the very first civilizations on Earth that had bodies. So there were civilizations on Earth, a civilization anyway on Earth, prior to beings coming into form and having physical bodies. And that era was, I believe, known as Mu, which is a era of golden light beings. So we didn't have bodies. When I say we, there's probably many souls listening to this right now that actually were part of Mu, that were part of the light beings here on the very, very beginnings of Earth. And then we chose to come into form as part of the planetary evolution. And so Lemuria, which you may have heard of, an ancient civilization that lasted, I don't know, thousands and thousands of years, came into being. And some say that was the Garden of Eden, the time of the paradise. Now, this rock was part of all of this story, right? This rock connects, my guides explained to me that this rock can connect us to Mu, right back to the original beings on Earth. Not even, they weren't people, they weren't humans then, they were light beings. It can connect us to Lemuria, it can connect us to the Atlantean phase, and of course to our current era. Perhaps you could say the four great ages of Earth that have been playing out. And many believe we are now at the end of the final fourth stage of what's called in Vedic traditions Kali Yuga, and that we're coming into another golden age of light bodies. So how true that is, I feel it is true. I feel we are going through an incredible planetary shift of consciousness. But I've also learned to hold my beliefs lightly and take care with my words around this because the deeper you go with your own consciousness, the more you sort of have to let go of the stories and just allow what is present to be present in the present moment. That's a mouthful, but that's your reality. That's your truth. That's your truth, is what's right in front of you right now. Your truth is your breath. Your truth is your ability to connect to this world around you in a genuine, deep way. And your ability to notice what's going on. When you sit in nature and you notice deeply, and you penetrate and you see the tiniest little butterfly and you watch the ants climbing up, climbing up a tree. I watched an ant once climbing up a tree carrying something. This tree was huge. It was like a great big rainforest tree. And this ant was at my height. So he's gone all the way from the bottom and he's climbed all the way up there with his little bundle. I mean, there's nothing that cannot inspire awe when you see something like that, unless you're not present. That's what gets in the way. If you're not present, if you're not available to notice these things and to be at one with it, to appreciate it, to let it bring joy and awe into your heart, that awe is one of the flavors of God. Awe and love and gratitude and appreciation. So let nature be your teacher. Remember your earth family. Remember that you do belong here. Take off your shoes and connect to the earth. Or even better yet, one of my favorite practices is to just lie on the ground and let your body sink into the earth and feel how heavy you can get. When you get really, really heavy, that's when you can melt into earth. And you can say, Mama, have you got me? Can you just absorb all of my troubles? Can I share with you my tears? Sometimes when I do this practice, I cry from a really deep place. It just sobs come up in me because it is so nice to be home. And you are home. This is your home for the moment while you're in this body. You're here for a reason. It's not an accident. You didn't incarnate on the wrong planet. So take some time to get to know your home and become part of her family. Okay. I will leave it there. That was nice and short, I hope, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Namaste.